Hello, everyone, and welcome to Loriander. This is the show after the show, also known as an after show. My name is Janessa. We also have Matt and Joe here, and we're here to give you some insight into today's episode or last week's episode, depending on when you've been watching this.
Time is a flat circle.
It's like a circle.
Yeah, so we just told everyone, we've been saying this on social media a little bit, but we are changing the way that Coriander is run, and I wanted to give a chance to speak on why we made these changes. So yeah, Joe, why did we make this change?
There's a lot of reasons. I'd say first and foremost is the fact that Coriander is a very sprawling, messy story with tons and tons of plot threads and characters and worlds. And I've been running it very much like the way I run D&D games, which is just go anywhere you want, do anything you want, and just throw everything at the wall and have fun wherever we pick it up. I love doing that, but it doesn't always make the most coherent story. We're 98 episodes into this series, which is ridiculous. And shout out to the two of you for sticking through it. But one of the things that I feel like is that I keep letting things sort of spin out of control. And that doesn't mean that you're doing things that aren't planned for. It just means that I haven't been exercising a lot of narrative discipline to make sure that we're honing in on the core of our characters, their emotional journeys, the storylines that we resonate with most. Just telling a good, fun story for all of you out there. So by switching to a seasonal model, one, it's going to help us tell more focused stories while still continuing to explore this enormous multiverse. And two, we're going to be able to bring on guest stars, which is one of the things I'm really excited for. Every single season is going to be about 6 episodes. It's going to each take place in a different world. And we'll probably revisit worlds, come back to them from time to time. But we're going to bring on a guest star or two for each season. So we're going to have a lot more characters, people, performers, creators that we've wanted to play with and haven't had the chance to. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun too. One of the things that made me want to do this change is because, I was going to say John and I. Matt and I are great, but I feel like we have been, ever since Beatdown left, there's a small aspect that's missing. It's really, who plays D&D with 2 players? I don't know if that's normal, but I think it's been really, really great. But some of our characters are it's very, you know what choice they're gonna make. And so having that third person, I think, is going to spice things up. And fourth person, because I guess we're gonna have 2 people.
I think the nice thing about having multiple people in pods, you hit it on the head. Variety is a spice of life, and that's exactly it. When you have 2 people, even if you have a very good chemistry and dynamic like we tend to have, you are not playing with or against each other. You're playing off each other. Every time you make a choice, I have to either go along with it or find a reason why I'm countering it, and vice versa. When we have multiple people, you either can do that thing where if you have an odd number of people, 2 people can make a decision outvoting the other. One person can decide, even though the other 2 have made a decision, they can just go for it. And they're not constantly trying to counter or updo each other. When you get more people involved, I think even the actual decision-making process doesn't fall on, well, this was your crazy idea, or we have to be completely together on this or else we're separate. The more people you add, you can add that little throw of, well, I'm just going to do it. And no one's going to be super mad, I think, because, well, that was just one of the obvious choices that could have happened. And it wasn't like people are playing against each other, you know?
Yeah. Also, plus we get to go on vacation now.
Yeah, well, that's nice. That is lovely.
Except for Joe, I guess.
Joe already went on vacation.
Oh no, because we're gonna have breaks and stuff. That's what we didn't mention. The plan is to have a 6 or 7 season,
maybe 8, yeah.
And then we get to take 3 weeks off. Right? Yeah. So Joe does get to do a vacation.
Well, we'll see if I fill that time with other stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, because he's probably going to prep the next season with the current break.
Run my Death Dragon Decadence crew in the spots. I don't know. I have it's a challenge for me.
Yeah. Workaholic over here.
Mm-hmm.
I am as well. It's just my work is not D&D. Um,
I feel like your work is less clout chasey than Gnomes' work. No, Gnomes is just constantly like, I have to always be
no,
going out there and doing a
no.
thing in order to move on to the next thing. I feel like yours is more like bringing people up rather than trying to,
I think it is disguised as bringing people up. I think mine is definitely more clout chasey because it's
Really?
like, yeah, because I work with like the most popularist of streamers, and
That's
just so
true.
that we can be there and be like, we helped you do something. Like,
I mean, that's okay. That's
it's very
Janessa
simp
saying that.
behavior.
That's not any of us saying
Look,
that.
you're not. It's not. You're a professional. That's literally your job. All right.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
Our job is to think that they're amazing and we want to help them and help them grow and stuff. But
Exactly.
like, yeah, when
It's
you
not cloud
when you
chasing.
put a little fun spin on it, you're like, the numbers are everything. We need more numbers.
Yes.
Swell, swell, swell.
All right, so let's jump into this episode. Okay, this was a really fun moment. We decided to frame the action bunch on I guess not only stealing the portal, but also stealing Hank. Before I asked Joe, because he just answered a question, Matt, you're also a DM, but you like also like really love story and stuff like that. And I know I give you shit for it, but you always like think about all the possible ways a thing can go. So what do you think are some possible implications of us framing the action bunch?
Well, just off the top of my head, the ones that pop up, much like the popcorn that we ate in the theater, would be that first of all, it doesn't work. Obviously, like you mentioned, General Sagoma might just see right through
You don't
this.
think they're gonna fall for it?
That is a very good possibility. That it's too obvious. Like it's one of those things where the action squad, who among their group would even come up with such an idea? It would go against and challenge a lot of what that group already kind of stands for. But at the same time, there's such a weird bunch of people that I think on the other opposite end of the spectrum, people might look at that and go, wait a minute, this obviously was that group. And they're branching out and this looks good. Everything, we saw them there. They did a thing. They left their calling card everywhere. And now we're going to go knock on their door. At the very least, why
Oh,
wouldn't we go
no.
investigate that? You know?
What if it makes the paper and they become like famous? And then the
Oh,
scene is
no.
like, oh no, they're
So then they
like
go from
stealing
being
our
B squad
reputation.
to A squad. They become the clout chasers. Oh no. Well,
We didn't think of this.
that's a small price to pay for getting off scot-free, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Is that the action squad getting better? That's the least of our problems, but man, that's a kick in the pants.
Okay, I don't know if I should ask Joe. You're not going to tell us, are you?
Maybe.
What I will say is that the action bunch do not deliberately steal other people's accomplishments. They legitimately think that they're pulling those things off. They just keep being in situations where they get these victories handed to them or they show up at the right time and they think they're being helpful. They're not like actually trying to steal the spotlight. They're just kind of oblivious.
But this is be par for the course then. They had nothing to do with this, and yet they pulled out the most perfect heist in Commonwealth history.
I don't know about that. But I will say that it would be funnier. And it's weird because like, what's the obvious reaction? General Sagomo is going to kill those kids. He's going to kill them. But it would be more depressing for the players for them to get more clout than it would be for General Sagomo to kill them. The actual tragic thing would be less tragic than the funny thing.
But what if you married both ideas? What if the general found the kids and rather than immediately killed them, put them under his thumb and like, oh yeah, the general is now sponsoring the action squad and now they're being kept as like seeing eye chimps in order to make sure that if the people who had gotten close to them return, then they're going to be used as patsies for the whole dealio.
Well, now we're just revisiting our absolute power campaign.
Yeah,
it's true. That's a good point.
And now it can't be that because you said it.
But what if no one watches the after show? Then they would have no idea.
But everyone watches it. Likes and
Right?
subscribes.
Right.
I think the tinfoil people in chat just probably love this show.
Just like, oh, freebies, let's go.
Give me all the lore.
Okay. I also have a note here to talk about how badass General Sugumo is. Sugomo. I don't know what we need to say there. Who put that down?
I think Matt probably put that down.
Oh, I just thought that was an awesome spotlight. Just every single time they show up, they really bring the anime into this campaign.
Do you guys know when he showed up? The first time the general showed up in the campaign was episode 11.
Holy crap.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, because somebody played an Act of God card as I was in the car.
Ooh, yes.
I was watching this the other day. I was in the car, or Asena was in the car with Philip, and they played an Act of God, and so we saw like him show up in his motorcade. And I just think that was so crazy. That was so long ago.
And later that episode was the aforementioned when you said that John disguised himself as Sugumo, and he went through that entire base pretending to be Sugumo.
That's why today I was like, you've done it before.
Man, what is that? 78 episodes previous? 76?
Yeah. Crazy.
86.
And this is why we need to go to more of a season things, because
look at that.
We're barely getting to that storyline.
But you know, I will say, I know this isn't on the thing, but in our defense, we've covered a lot of ground. We've gone through an entire redemption arc for John. We've seen characters come and go in entire full arcs, and we've explored not just the backstory, but the forward story of Asena's entire journey of being the spirit of Gotharius that was inserted into this dead child that was only brought there because of this artifact that a repentive evil priest had in order to feel bad about what they did. And I mean, we've gone through a lot. John lost and regained his magic.
That's true.
We've toppled all of the main bad guys in Yord and across all of the different worlds that we've been to in order to get to this point. A lot has happened.
Maybe if we talk about the old episodes in each Loriander, then in 100 episodes we'll catch up.
Hey,
it's been a long time.
That's a pretty good idea. We do a little summary.
Okay.
A bite-sized piece.
We could, yeah.
That actually is another reason to switch to the seasonal model. Asking people to watch 98 episodes of backstory is a lot, but by switching to these seasons and having these guest characters, the outsiders who don't know John and Asena necessarily, it's a perfect onboarding point for people. A lot easier to get into it.
It kind of feels like a sitcom where, like, you know the two characters, John and Asena, and you know some other ones, but like they're going to be doing different things every time.
Yes.
Which is cool. And
it's kind of fun where someone can watch back and go, oh yeah, you got to start with the Spider Queen saga. But man, you could probably skip over the Giant's Foot. That one was fun, but not a lot happened. If you like watching Asena punch things, that's going to be the one for you, The Legend of the Giant's Foot. But I think John really came into his own when they went to Return to Quelia. That was a pretty good one. That was a nice season. I like that.
Oh my God. They are going to do that. And there's going to be people debating over like, what's the right order to watch them in.
Yes. And we're going to hide Scooby-Doo titles in each episode. And no one's ever going to find them until someone discovers that they're there. And they're going to go, oh my God, how far does back this go? And it's not in the first 98. It's just going to be in the new stuff. But maybe.
I didn't know if you were trying to say that you had done that or not.
Could you imagine if I was hiding Scooby-Doo titles in every single episode of Coriander? Oh man. My wife's going to wonder, gosh, what was Matt always doing downstairs in his office after every show? Okay, I got to Google episodes of Scooby-Doo and find a way to get into the next one.
Where's my Excel file?
Oh my God.
If you play back my voice in each episode at the 15-minute mark, then it's probably going to be a garbled mess. But man, imagine if something was there.
Okay, speaking of John, Matt's crazy ideas. I think it's time that we let chat know a little bit more about the papaya tree.
Oh,
Because
right.
it became canon, I think we should give some backstory. So where did papaya tree come from?
Long, long time ago, in a galaxy far away.
The MCA.
Asena had, no, not Asena, gosh, Janessa, you were asking for suggestions, and we were throwing all kinds of things together to what to call Loriander. Right at the beginning, we were trying to figure out what to call this segment of Talkback, and we had a lot of ideas that ran the gamut across. The biggest thing we were trying to do, and I remember Asena and I, damn it, Janessa and I spent like hours one night going back and forth, just tossing out different either
Like
rhymes or synonyms.
So many words.
So hundreds and hundreds of words going back and forth, trying to find something that sounded like, because our big thing, we're like, oh, what do they have? What do they have for the Walking Dead talkback?
Talking Dead.
The Talking Dead.
So
What do
yeah,
they have
we
for
wanted
Vox
like
Machina,
alliteration or like
yeah,
like
trying to
rhyming
find,
or something. Yeah.
yeah. So we were trying to base it off Coriander Society, and we ended up with some pretty wild stuff. And the closest we got was we were workshopping this phrase that you and I stumbled into, but you kind of perfected, but we couldn't figure out how to, when you said it out loud, it made sense. Let me see if we can go back.
Oh,
and
it
find
was,
that
yeah, it was like Coriander Society. Like
yes.
it was like the
Like spelling the
tea
T
about the
with the T.
show.
Yeah, but when you said it out loud, it made sense, but spelling it was
We couldn't
awful.
spell it.
It didn't make
Yeah.
sense. And so stumbling through, I just started posting crazy amounts. I found this website that just, hey, I plugged in coriander and said, give me words that rhyme and sound like it with syllables that make sense. And I came across papaya tree is like society. And I was like, oh my gosh, let's call it coriander papaya tree. And we got a resounding no from Joe. It was just shut that down. Not
Obviously.
happening.
Well,
Obviously.
I said
then-
no too. Because I was like, what are you talking about? Like that has to do with nothing. I just thought that you were being silly. But then you called me.
Yes, exactly.
Matt
And then
called me and I heard it in my ear and I was like, oh, it does sound like
Sounds good.
Coriander Society.
And I started
But it
sending
means
Janessa all this stuff
nothing.
for the symbolism of papayas. I drew out, I don't know how I could share it now, but I drew out an actual papaya tree that instead of having regular papaya leaves, it had coriander flower leaves in like as part of the vines. And so I was like, look, it can look like this. And through a mixture of just haphazard like work that I had done and just that little jingle of actually papaya tree sounds kind of good. I think I changed our social media producer into saying, I actually kind of like it. And then Joe's like, no, this is not happening. This is absolutely not happening. And then we've been inserting the papaya tree joke all this time in our Loriander episodes. That's just a little tidbit until I'm just as surprised as Joe that, that we could pull that off. I didn't think it was going to happen. I was just
Joe
making a
can't
joke.
say no if it's in the game.
You can't say that was in the game, and you can't say no if the both of us say yes. That's
I mean, I can say rocks fall and everyone dies, but what kind of a DM would I be if I did that?
exactly. Exactly.
I'm beginning to see more that like there is like a torture relationship between.
Yes.
Look, if Janessa says yes, Joe's going to agree because it makes sense. It's a good idea that has actual factual things supporting it, and why wouldn't you agree to it? And if Joe says yes to Matt, it's either because I rolled a natural 20 or it's so bad it's good, and he can't deny that it's delicious. He has to take a bite.
To give you an idea of the torture relationship, the first time that Matt met my now wife, we played apples to apples, and they had just met each other, and they cheated to collaborate against me so I would lose. She passed Matt all the blank cards because Matt had known me longer, and she was like, Matt's gonna have the inside jokes and he's gonna use this to win.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
like literally, she's in the other room just saying Joe should always lose. So yes.
And in literally every single board game we've ever played since, it was never about Mrs. Gnomes or I winning. It was about as long as Joe loses. And I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, have you won a game that you've played with us together since?
I have, because I remember.
I think it was one
gloating a
time.
lot.
I think you won one time, like a couple years ago, after like a decade. You finally won a game.
We don't play a lot of games anymore.
Next time I'm coming over, we're playing Wingspan, and I'm taking you all down.
As long as Joe goes down with us, I don't care.
My light went out, and so did my internet a little bit.
Oh no!
Can you guys still hear me?
Yes,
we can
you're
hear
a
you.
little robot-y, but you're still with us.
Okay, perfect.
Show can go on.
Yeah, so that's how we got Papaya Tree Cannon, and we just explained it to all of you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Thanks, Joe.
Also, thanks to the GM for my missile. Apparently, I did not know this. You must have known this, but chat has like a transcript search for our YouTube VODs. Why didn't you guys tell me? That's insane, by the way.
I think it's linked in the Discord. I'm pretty sure it's linked in the Discord.
Well, I know, but like, to be honest, I have
there's a lot going on in there, which is the same reason why I hadn't told you. Like, there's a lot going on, but it's absolutely incredible, and it makes it super, super handy because between all the shows, there's like 300 episodes of content, and
yeah,
it really is.
My brain is fallible. My brain is full of holes. So
that is so cool.
It's also incredibly helpful to the tinfoil miners, obviously, but it's one of the things that blows me away about our community. That's just a great example of it.
It's definitely going to help me pull in clips because you can just sort of like think of this grand idea and then like actually go find it. But yeah, thank you, Shane. That's amazing. And because of that, we found out my glow stick missile is just John loaded a magic missile spell.
Which makes way more sense than it being a missile.
You know, it was just shorthand. That's all.
Yeah. I was like, I'll remember this missile. Something missile.
Sure did not.
Although I like how immediately all our heads didn't go for John just put magic missile in there. It was Gaston obviously loaded a torpedo-sized nuke inside of this glow stick.
Like, I almost got away with a bazooka.
You almost got away with a hand cannon.
In the grand scheme of things, how overpowered is a bazooka compared to the nonsense you pulled off, right? Who cares? You have like 500 pounds of dynamite at one point. Who cares?
I'm going to get back 499 pounds of dynamite when we get back to the Elven Society. It's just on contingency. It's on loan.
Maybe we can do that to figure out where the anti-Coriander agents came from.
Just to blow them up with dynamite?
No.
Oh, so you mean the search tool.
Yeah, I can use the search tool. This episode, we saw the return of some anti-Coriander agents as we like traveled. So I completely blanked. I was like, when did we see those again? Like, would I know? So we're going to have to do some searching for that. But question for you, Joe. I took that as nobody in that room saw them there. Like, not even Hank? Is that true? Can you tell us?
Yes. It's the reason that you were able to see them is a side effect of Asena's astral connections. Just like when John goes through a teleport, he has that moment of weightlessness and then it's instantaneously on the other side, but that is prolonged for you and you can experience every moment of it. Same thing here. It was during that astral transit, you were able to see them. No one else was.
Whoa.
But did they see her? Do we know that?
That is a good question. That is an excellent question.
Oh my! I didn't even think of that.
That would have been so cool, though. Like the whole like you turn your head, they turn their head. Like oh no. Snap.
Okay, so follow-up question: does that mean that they are what ghosts are?
Ghosts? No, legitimate question. In D&D, ghosts are linked to the ethereal plane, not the astral plane.
So they're space ghosts.
Coast to coast.
Yeah. Space ghosts.
You got there.
Okay. Let's move on to some questions. Oh wait, no. I have one more good question. I'm sorry. I'm like, I know I'm like hijacking this, but also I host this show, so I could.
Yeah, we make you produce it. Whatever you want.
Okay, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
You seemed kind of disappointed when you were talking to Paracelsus
Mm,
about like you said the words just George.
uh-huh.
So when you're talking about like, who gave us a good word? Oh, it was just George.
No, not
Did
who gave
did
us a good word.
oh, what was it?
Who was the secret Coriander agent that Paracelsus said that they trusted among anyone else? When
Oh,
we asked
okay.
them if they could
Right, right,
trust
right.
anyone, they said there was one other they trusted. And so I was hoping that it wasn't like someone that we already knew. So that way we had another possible like ally within the Coriander Society. And so when he said, "Oh no, it was the one who gave
Mm,
you the good recommendations," like, "Oh, it was just George." Like we all know about George. That was that
okay.
was that was
George is a
the
gimme.
inference there. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
I caught that hesitation and wanted to ask you about it. Who who does Matt want it to be? If who did Matt want it to be if it was someone else?
Oh,
And who does John want it to be?
so I actually have an answer for that, and I thought about it as soon as you mentioned it, Joe. And I was hoping and I was praying, and I think we pretty much confirmed it wasn't last time, and then this just sealed the deal. But actually, John wants it to be anybody who can provide assistance. It's less of a I want a specific person and more like, do they have a particular set of skills and can we use them? Matt wants it to be Carmen. Uh, they've only come up one other time in this campaign. It's when John was on Perianth the last time previously that they were spending their time here before going off and going against the abomination. Uh, John had rested in his room underneath the stars, and he was getting drunk and he was singing Irish songs of loss and wonder. And at that time, he was thinking of her. And then when he was about to lose his magic, the last use of his magic before he gave it to Hara, was he sent a message to someone named Carmen. And that's who I was hoping it was. And if you want to find out who Carmen is, you better keep watching Loriander, 'cause I'm sure it'll come up.
Just a little bit of lore there sprinkled for you guys to look
Yeah.
forward to. I love that, and I think you did a really good job at conveying something on your face.
Aw. Well, thank you.
Um, yeah. Okay. Before we get into the recap, let's go do a quick round of questions. This one's coming in from Mama Shimada. Joe, if you were transformed into a goose, what mildly chaotic thing would you do first?
I would bite a child
Wow.
because when I was 4 years old, a goose bit me. And I carry that trauma with me
No,
to this very day.
I
And
don't believe
so,
you.
no, when I was 4 years old, I was in El Dorado Park in, I think it's either LA, I think it's Orange County. Anyways, I was in El Dorado Park. I was walking around. It's one of my few, like, you know what memories I have from when I was 4? Getting bit on the cheek by a wasp and getting bit on the finger by a goose. I will remember that crystallized for decades afterwards. So in order to process that trauma, it's like I always say, if you don't transform your pain, you will transmit your pain. So I would pass on that curse and bite a child.
Okay, you realize that like the tinfoil people are now going to like come up with a story of how you're now a time traveler and it was really you that bit yourself.
El Dorado Park, by the way, is in Long Beach.
I don't know if Mama knew this, but great question, Mama.
Actually, you would bite yourself. I could totally see that.
Okay, I think that was a great answer. And we're running short on time. So let's recap what this last episode was, and then we'll be out of here.
All right. Episode 98 of Coriander Society Adventures, the last episode of the show as we know it. Our heroes in the Obsidian Tower realized that by blowing the crap out of one of the fiends inside the Malefic network, they had accidentally unleashed a bunch of eldritch beings from a vault down below. Given that they didn't want to deal with that, they hadn't had time to rest, and they still needed to rescue Hank McCarthy and steal the portal from Yord so they could use it for their own purposes. They made a swift exit and went through the Yord portal, arriving inside of a safe, inside of a vault, inside of an armory. They managed to make their way out, defeating each security measure one by one, and were inside the administrative center of Fort Fitzgerald, an experimental complex in the city of Northport, run by the military and run by General Lucius Segomo, who was actually a member of the Pact Malefic, who they'd run into on multiple occasions. Thinking quickly, they beat the absolute crap out of some army officials, stole their clothes, snuck around to the side, and in the process of breaking out of all these things, decided that for some reason they were going to frame the Action Bunch by leaving calling cards left and right. And when they finally broke into General Segomo's office, where he was interrogating Hank McCarthy, who they were there to rescue, they went in disguised as the Action Bunch, grabbed him, and vanished. Shortly thereafter, they escaped to the astral plane, took Hank McCarthy with them to the Panopticon, where they met Paracelsus. They were all officially inducted as new members of a secret Coriander Society cell, which to my regret is now called the Papaya Tree Cell. And then after that, with them all inducted into the society now so that the name of our show actually makes sense, they traveled to Perianth because they made a deal with King Indogolod a long time ago for his support dealing with the threat of Kur and the threat of the Pact Malefic and Yachak. They needed to help his people and protect them from the elves of the Shadow Moon. And so in our next adventure, they're going to travel to the dark elf city of Xogatha to assassinate an Illithid, a mind flayer ambassador, who is there to lead the dark elves to victory. And you can watch that next time on Coriander Society, Shadow of the Spider Moon.
Which is starting next week.
Woo!
On August 15th. So Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. Be there. And this, again, this is going to be I can't do math, 6-episode show?
Yeah, 6-episode show.
6 episodes. So be sure to tune in for those 6 weeks. And then we'll all have a little break together where we can just theorize and see what's coming next. Thank you guys so much for watching Loriander and as well as Coriander Society. And we will see you next week. This case is closed. Boom.